Okay, let's dive in. Here's something pretty striking to start us off. A lot of health problems people face, worldwide really, aren't because they can't get medicine. We see this in places like Nepal, too. Studies suggest, maybe 60% of people there don't have the right info. The real issue is often not knowing how to use the medicine correctly.
That's such a critical point. Access is one thing, but understanding is another huge piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And that's what we're really getting into today. We're looking at insights from Dr. Dirgha Joshi's work on the rational use of medicine.
Right.
So the goal here for you listening is to unpack what rational use really means and, why it's so vital for your health.
And this work highlights some, let's say, systemic problems,
Mm-hmm.
issues with how drugs are prescribed,
Mm-hmm.
how they're distributed, and then, crucially, how people actually use them, or maybe don't use them correctly.
And a big part of that, it seems, is the patient's own role, or sometimes the lack of a role, right? Not asking questions, not seeking information.
Yeah, the material really emphasizes that. It suggests that without being active, asking those questions, people kind of remain, well, victims of the system in a way.
So think of this deep dive as like a shortcut, helping you get informed about medicines you might use, cutting through some of that complexity. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. And the scale of this problem, it's pretty immense. The source suggests maybe half of all medicines globally are prescribed or handed out incorrectly.
That's huge.
It is. And then on top of that, about half are actually used incorrectly by the patients themselves.
Wow. So you combine those two factors.
Yeah, and you see how it leads to a massive number of, frankly, avoidable health complications.
What really struck me reading this was the focus on the patient. It's not just on doctors and pharmacists doing their job right.
No, definitely not.
It puts a lot of emphasis on you, the person taking the medicine, needing to be an active participant.
No.
Like asking your doctor direct questions. What is this drug? What are the side effects? Are there other options?
Even questioning things like, do I really need this multivitamin? Or is this supplement necessary?
Right. It frames that active role as absolutely essential. If you don't ask, if you don't try to understand.
You're just more vulnerable to mistakes. Or maybe not getting the best possible outcome. It's about taking some control.
And taking control means, you need some basic knowledge.
For sure.
The material goes into the fundamentals, How does this drug actually work in my body? How does my body get rid of it?
What are the good effects we want?
Yeah.
But also, what are the potential downsides, the side effects?
And importantly, interactions. How one medicine might clash with another, or even how certain foods can mess with your medication.
It even touches on things like the placebo effect. How just believing a treatment will work can actually help sometimes.
Or the flip side, the nocebo effect,
Yeah.
where negative expectations can actually cause negative symptoms.
Understanding that basic stuff helps make sense of why the details matter so much, like dosage, timing, things like that.
Okay, so building on how they work, let's define the main idea. Rational use of medicine.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
Well, in simple terms, it means using medicines effectively and safely, getting the right drug for the right patient at the right dose for the right duration, and importantly, at the right cost, both individually and for the community.
And promoting this is key because, as we said, irrational use is a huge global problem.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, the source notes how the principles for rational use have sort of evolved over time. It's not static.
So it's an ongoing effort to refine best practices.
Exactly. And the material talks about different strategies, different interventions to try and encourage more rational prescribing, dispensing, and use.
Can we make that a bit more concrete, like an example of rational versus irrational?
Sure. So rational use might be, say, taking a specific antibiotic prescribed for a confirmed bacterial infection and finishing the whole course, even if you feel better early.
Okay, makes sense.
Irrational use could be, well, demanding antibiotics for a common cold, which is usually viral. So antibiotics won't help.
Right. Or maybe stopping your medication early.
Yeah, stopping treatment too soon, or maybe using multiple drugs when one would do, or even when lifestyle changes might be better. It's about appropriateness, necessity, sticking to the plan.
The source also puts a big spotlight on vulnerable groups, doesn't it? Particularly women and children.
Yes, definitely. Because medicine use has unique implications for them.
Like during pregnancy and breastfeeding.
Exactly. The material covers that, including the idea of teratogenic drugs. Those are substances that could potentially cause birth defects. Really important information.
It gets pretty specific, too, talking about nutrient deficiencies, like needing enough folic acid, calcium, iron during pregnancy.
and how important that is for both the mother and the developing fetus. It also touches on contraceptives, including emergency contraception, and how to use them responsibly.
And I'm for breastfeeding moms.
It lists specific medicines and chemicals that can actually pass into breast milk, which is crucial info for making safe choices.
Then for kids, what are the key points there?
It flags some commonly misused medicines in children and gives really practical advice like how to store medicines safely, keeping them out of reach.
Simple stuff, but vital.
Absolutely. And it also tells parents what to do if they think their child is having a bad reaction to a medicine. Clear steps to take.
Okay, let's shift to some of the really practical questions this material tackles. The Q&A section had some quite surprising bits.
Yeah, some really useful everyday stuff in there.
Like the idea that for common things, a bit of a stomachache, maybe a headache, a regular cold or cough, you don't always need medicine.
Right. Sometimes your body just needs rest, fluids, basic care. It can often heal itself. That's a counterintuitive message for many of us, I think.
Definitely. We reach for the pill bottle so quickly. What about side effects? Are they always bad news?
Not necessarily. The material explains that side effects vary a lot. Some might be minor or expected, others more serious. It's about understanding the risk versus the benefit.
It even gets into things like, why do tablets have coatings? Can you break them?
Yeah, practical stuff. And the answer is often depends. Depends on the coating, depends on the drug formulation. Some tablets cannot be broken or crushed.
Good to know. And what about capsules?
Gelatin.
It explains what gelatin is and why it's used. These details help you understand how to take your medicine properly.
It also goes into factors that affect how medicine gets around your body and what might make adverse effects more likely.
And it tackles some common health myths, too. Things people worry about.
Like what?
Well, it gives grounded advice on topics like sexual health, debunks some misleading claims about skin lightening products or miracle hair loss cures or teeth whitening fads.
So, trying to cut through the marketing noise.
Pretty much. Offering realistic perspectives. There's also advice for people managing long-term health conditions.
What's the key message there? Consistency is vital. Sticking with your treatment plan, staying informed. And a really critical point that gets reinforced is taking medicine exactly when prescribed.
Not just roughly the right time of day.
No, the timing often matters a lot because of how the drug works and how your body processes it. It's not arbitrary.
Okay. What about after you've used the medicine? Expired drugs.
Yes. Proper disposal, often overlooked, but really important for safety and the environment. Don't just flush them or toss them in the bin necessarily.
Good point. It even has tips for common annoyances like motion sickness during travel.
Yeah, practical life stuff.
Now, something that seems very relevant today, multivitamins, supplements, vitamin D.
Ah, yes. The material raises a flag there and suggests potential widespread misuse.
Misuse how? Like people taking them when they don't need them?
Exactly. Often taken unnecessarily without a diagnosed deficiency. It circles back to that idea of questioning everything you put in your body, even supposedly healthy supplements.
And what if you do have concerns? Like you think a medicine isn't working right, or maybe the quality seems off?
The material actually empowers you there. It explains that, yes, you can question drug quality. You can report problems.
Oh!
It suggests avenues like contacting the relevant authorities, maybe a Department of Drug Administration or whatever the equivalent is where you are. And you can report adverse effects you experience.
That's empowering. It also mentions looking for GMP certification.
Right. GMP, good manufacturing practice. It's basically a quality standard for manufacturers, a sign they follow strict procedures.
And the National Formulary.
That's mentioned as a sort of official list or reference guide for essential standard medicines in a country. Useful tools for being a more informed consumer.
What I find really powerful is how this goes beyond just individual health advice. It frames rational use of medicine as potentially sparking like a positive social movement.
Exactly. The author's vision seems broader than just fixing individual prescriptions. It's about lifting public awareness generally.
For a healthier society overall.
Yeah. Encouraging citizens to contribute.
How can citizens contribute?
By being informed themselves, obviously, applying the advice, but also by being vigilant and reporting illegal or unsafe practices they see.
Like what kind of things?
Things like pharmacies operating without a proper license, maybe unregistered clinics, people selling expired drugs,
Okay.
or overuse of antibiotics becoming normalized, or maybe pharmacies significantly overcharging people. Your awareness can actually help protect the community.
And it helps to understand the author a bit, Dr. Joshi.
Yeah, the source gives some background. He's described as a scientist, deeply involved in pharmacy research and practice.
Comes from a rural background, but also has international education.
Right. And currently working within Nepal's health system. His motivation for writing this is stated pretty clearly. Global welfare, basically.
Yeah.
And specifically, raising public awareness in Nepal without any personal financial gain. It frames it as an act of public service.
That definitely adds weight to the message.
It does.
So if we boil it all down, the core takeaway here seems incredibly empowering.
I think so.
Understanding how to use medicine rationally is just a fundamental tool for protecting yourself, yes, but also for contributing to the health of your community.
Absolutely. Having this kind of knowledge, even from a deep dive like this, gives you more confidence, more capability.
To navigate the whole complex world of healthcare and medication more safely, more effectively.
And with more control of your own choices.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. We know that using medicine incorrectly causes so many problems globally.
This staggering amount.
So what's maybe one small step you could take starting today? Could be asking just one more question next time you get a prescription.
Or looking up a term you didn't understand.
Or even just pausing before automatically reaching for a painkiller for something minor. Just one small step towards being a more informed, more active participant in your own health journey.